right, what's going on, my freaks and geeks? Welcome again to the Square Roundtable podcast. I want to thank all of our viewers and listeners for coming out again and listening to another amazing episode. And guys, everybody here at the Square Roundtable podcast is a comic book nerd. And for all of our comic book nerds out there that like to hear comic book information, we definitely got a great podcast for you tonight, guys. I would love to welcome an awesome writer, comic book editor, and a comic book creator, guys, and one of the creators of the fantastic comic that's coming out pretty soon, The Daring Double Life of Ace Adams. Guys, please welcome Mr. Nate Cosby.
What up? Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, you were so very welcome. Like I said, it was a blast having Jacob on, and then literally the day the episode aired, he was like, "Hey, Nate would like to jump on too," and that was crazy because we were really trying to get in contact with you also through Instagram and stuff. So that's good. We're able to get your direct contact and make this thing happen.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys being nice to Jacob. He's got triplets, so he didn't get out of the house much. He didn't talk to people. He just stares and draws all day. So any excuse to not change diapers, to not do feedings, that's what he wants. So nothing here. I got two whiny cats here, but they're fed, so I don't care. It's fine.
Oh, okay, so they're chilling now. They're not going to be bothering you too much more tonight.
Yep.
That's good. Well, we're so glad that we can provide that for Jacob, man. He was definitely an awesome guest, and like I said, you guys have really done something big right here with this comic book that's coming out, and we just want to learn more about it. But before we get into all of that good stuff, I just always like to ask my guests when they come on the show. Everything is crazy out here. We've been under quarantine and all this stuff. So just like a mental health check, how have you been dealing with all of that? How have you been holding up as a creative?
It's getting better. I'd hit everybody in the same way and differently. When it first happened, I've been lucky enough to really be able to keep rolling creatively the entire time. I won't lie, the circumstances have definitely changed, given me some perspective and different creative ideas, like shifted priorities as far as all that. It's got me thinking about different sorts of stories that I want to tell and why I want to tell them. I was speaking to Roger Langridge today, actually, about a project that we're going to be doing soon that we've been working on for a couple of years. But I pretty much told him, it's like, you know what, I'm going to go back through our correspondence from 2 years ago and see where I'm at now, because I think I'm just in a totally different headspace. And I think I would approach the writing and creation of this from a completely different perspective. I don't know if I can access my perspective from a couple of years ago. I don't know if I'd want to. Maybe a different kind of thing. Lucky to keep going, but also just, I don't know, just like changed, I'll say, changed. Not necessarily in a bad way, just embracing the change of the experience.
I definitely understand where you're coming from. And it's really cool being able to talk to creatives and people that put art out there, and just seeing and hearing that answer is just being under a different mindset. Probably if this didn't happen, I wouldn't have these ideas, or my art would have went in a completely different direction. So it's always really interesting to hear how just real life impacts your art.
Yeah, I think the biggest element for me was just like experience and exposure. There was such a dearth of it, right? It's like, I'm not going to Nets games. I'm not going to movies. I'm not going to house parties. There's nothing going on. So it's, I'll just put my head to the ear to the grindstone. I'll find something to put to the grindstone.
There's going to be
and I'll just grind at it. No, I shouldn't put any of that near the grindstone. That shit hurts. No, it's like, I'll just
put my eyeball to the grindstone.
Yeah. You know, I'll just back my ass up to the grindstone and just see what happens. Hey. But no, it's like you just, I'll focus on work. It's like, I'm a runner. So I'll run. I got nothing to train for, no race to train for, but I'll just run, because why not? That's the only safe thing to do outside. And then work. But it's like something about in the small pockets, and hopefully we're getting to a place where it's better, where you can actually go out and do things with friends, go to places, have experiences. Boy, it's just been like a really crystallizing experience, just doing something. It's like going and seeing somebody, going to a concert, going to see a baseball game, or just, wow, it's like an appreciation. It's having to go through the desert for a month and then showing up and seeing a potato, and it's the greatest thing that you ever tasted.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah. It's like, oh, what the hell is this? Yeah, and you put salt on it. There's salt? Yeah, but it's kind of like it really has opened my eyes to appreciate a lot of, I don't know, like almost given like a sense of awe and wonder again to the world in a way.
Yeah.
Just because it's been closed off.
That's awesome. And it's hard sometimes to put your, because you really can't, because you only see the world through your perspective. So it's hard to think about how other people perceive things or how they go about their day. But I think for me, and I know the guys probably feel the same way, we started this podcast like during the start of the pandemic. And in a way, we've definitely been blessed enough to be able to see all kinds of different people and meet all kinds of different people from all corners of the globe that I know I wouldn't have before. Because like you said with your art, if this didn't happen, would I be doing this right now?
No.
So
and they got time. It's like,
exactly.
I'm just sitting here. I don't know.
Just sitting here. Yeah, so it's been one of those. So from my perspective, and I've been very blessed to be able to do that. But yeah, I'm sure, like you were saying, it was like a reawakening. Like you said, I was just like, wow, outside, what is that? So that whole thing. But yeah, that's really cool. I'm definitely glad everything is going well with you, and good luck with your training too. I know you're doing that right now. So
yeah, I'm going to be doing the Toronto Marathon May 1st, so I'll be going for that. I don't I train for this stuff. I inherited it. My parents are like iron persons, I guess is the correct term. Yeah. So I just inherited their athletic stuff. So yeah.
Like, how do you train? Like, is there like a special kind of way you do it?
Yeah. I ran cross country in high school, but this is a totally different kind of thing. Those were like 5Ks, 10Ks at most, but like a marathon. So it's like, and it's not just that it's a lot. Like I've now run, I don't know, close to a dozen at this point. But I try to be pretty. I bring a lot of what I do professionally, like a comic book kind of schedule thing, to the training. That, as I'm sure you'll see during this conversation, I'm pretty OCD about things. I like a structure. I like a plan. I like to see things through. So it started with just, like the running training thing. But then I started exploring like, food and what do you do to fuel yourself? Okay, then you add sleep. And so I've got all this, like when I get into training mode, it's like it's 16 weeks of like real dedication. And it's very similar to like when I set to do a comic. It's like we got 3 months and we got to do this in this amount of time. And I'm not going to be late. Same as a race. Like a race is not going to change the date. That's when it is, whether you're ready or not. I like the discipline and structure that comes with that kind of thing. My buddy Chris Eliopoulos, who letters pretty much everything in set the template for all lettering at Marvel, and we co-created a book called Cowboy together. He got me into doing the Walt Disney World Marathon a few years ago. And they got this thing called the Dopey Challenge, which is like Thursday you run a 5K, Friday you run a 10K, Saturday you run a half marathon, Sunday you run a full marathon. So we do that. I do that every other year. I don't recommend ever doing it, but if you're gonna do it every other year.
Okay. I understand. So you could take some time off in between that. I get it. I definitely get it.
Yeah.
So that's cool. You're talking about work ethic. I like the fact that what you do professionally bleeds into other aspects of your life. But of course, just like a race, just like anything else, there's a starting point. So I wanted to know professionally, like number one, like where are you from? And then where did being an editor, being a writer, where does that come from? Where did that where was that starting point?
Yeah, I was born in Memphis, Tennessee. And then before, I think I was around 8 or 9, we moved to Columbus, Mississippi. My dad went to medical school at UT. And then, but my family's originally from Iuka, Mississippi in Tishomingo County. And so as you can tell from my super thick, deep accent. And yeah, I grew up in the super deep South, and like it's rough because it's like I feel like I was like 9 or 10 when I decided I was going to work in comics. I didn't know how, I didn't know what. I knew I couldn't draw, but I thought, I'll get better, and I didn't. So then I knew I needed to get good at something else to make comics. And so, like I've got my notebooks here from high school somewhere up here, and that I've just tons of sketches and doodles of like comic strips and comic books I was making all through high school instead of reading textbooks or taking tests. And yeah, I just always was interested in stories. I was always a tinkerer. I'd read comics. I'd read the same comic over and over, just like thumb through it until it was ruined. Or I'd watch movies over and over on loop if I had the VHS and didn't have to return it to Blockbuster. And
that's an old sentence right there, man.
But it's just when I got to DVD, but of course, and then they realized, we don't need these physical objects. But yeah, to me, stories are like magic tricks. It's like when something hits, like when something works, like when you see Pulp Fiction, it's like, what the fuck was that? What did I just experience? I got to go back and look at that again. Like, what is that? Like, in the heat of the night, holy shit, that was like, that was fucking magic. So it's like, let me go back and watch this over and over and over. So that's just the kind of thing, as I said, OCD kind of thing. It's I always knew, even before I knew you could actually get paid to make comics, I knew that there was some kind of thing in me that like desired to figure out how to make stories, why people made stories, what stories I wanted to tell, and how I could help others to tell stories. Because my favorite thing to do is just make stuff, just make stories with people.
I gotta ask you, Nate. When you used to like read like those comics or watch movies and stuff, did you ever sit there and be like, you know what? If I was doing this, I would have did that to make that better. Or if I told this story, I would have told it way different than that. Like, I know I did it all the time, even to the point where I had like my little action figures and I'd go back in my room. And if I had one of the action figures from what I was just watching, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it right now. And I wish I would have recorded some of that stuff because it would have been cool to look back on it. But yeah.
Plenty of times you'd find me in my closet with the action figures. Like, this issue of Daredevil sucks. If I was writing Daredevil, this is what I would do.
Exactly.
But no, it's like, but that's the thing, right? It's not to be too negative, but it's like, a lot of stuff sucks. A lot of comics suck. A lot of movies suck. A lot of TV suck. And just in people's opinions, some people like stuff, some people don't. That's great. But if I see something that's got flaws for whatever reason, or if I see something that's got potential but isn't quite living up to what I see in my head, so I'm gonna go in and think of, even if I'm not doing it professionally, like I go in and tinker. I would tweak this. I would adjust that. I would do this, which is why when I see something that's like, to me, like crystallized perfect, I just go in a daze with it. It's like when I see something or read something, just like, I wouldn't change a thing. I couldn't change a thing. If I were to take out one little Jenga piece, the whole tower topples, and then this perfect thing is ruined. So yeah, I definitely would do that. And I think that's probably part of the story of plenty of editors coming up. It's like, this is what I would have done. I would have done that. I would have done this. And I still do that, but it doesn't just stop with stuff like that. I'll go to a restaurant and get a menu and I'm looking for typos. It's just like every single time I'm reading news on the internet and stuff, I catch a comma thing, like, I can't turn it off. I don't know how.
See, I thought I was the only one.
Nope. You are not alone.
Man, I need your help writing my papers, because I get dragged through the mud for putting commas in wrong places.
They killed me about
ridiculous. Oh my gosh, it's a whole thing.
No, totally. But how do you feel about fanfics? Because like people that like just take it like totally to the extreme and just make a whole library of their own thing based off of like a comic they didn't like or something.
In a way, I think it's a really positive thing, because it spurs creativity, right? It's, you're doing it wrong, or this is the wrong kind of relationship, or this isn't the aspect I would tell. I'm going to go and do that kind of thing. I find that really cool. Like, when I think but to me, I don't know, just having been through like the Marvel ringer and worked for all these different kind of companies, is, to me, a lot of this stuff could be seen as fan fiction in a way, where it's like, when you, like, so many modern stories are conversations with stories that came in the past. Nobody that created Spider-Man is working on Spider-Man right now. Superman, Daredevil, Ms. Marvel, like, all these things are being done by people that did not create these characters. So in a way, it is, here's what I would do if I was in charge of this. And even like beyond licensed characters, it's like what we're doing with Ace Adams. It's me going, well, this is what I would do with superheroes. Like, this is, and I don't think it'd be quite what's being done here. And a lot of it is coming out of my own mind and experience, but it's also almost like a conversation and a corrective to the stuff that I don't like, to what I see, like the tropes being used, or just, I don't know, just like some laziness in some kind of stuff or whatever, or just like just having a positive kind of story, and not going, like, not trying to prove with every single page, oh yeah, I really watch. Yeah, I know you like Watchmen, but there's other stories to tell too.
No, for sure. And that's a good point that you made with character tropes, because I know of your character, Ace Adams, and what his power set is, but I see a lot of, it's like a trend now, I think, when you have a hero that is, let's just say he has Superman-esque powers, but instead of being like, which I think is more compelling, having all of that power and choosing to be a nice dude and not use it like that, you have guys like Omni-Man and Homelander and even the Injustice version of Superman that just go ballistic. And I wanted to know exactly. So I wanted to know, what did you think of like that kind of trope, and did you think of any of that when trying to form the type of character that like Ace Adams was in any way?
Yeah, for sure. Like that's been done so much. I guess my first thought on it was, it's like, there's plenty of other places to go if you want that. God bless you. There's lots.
Yeah.
They're on the stands right now. Like for me, like my guy, my if you ask me the superhero that I love, like 1A and 1B are always going to be Batman and Superman. But my Superman is Golden Age Superman, right? Like 1938 version. He can jump like 1/16 of a mile. He can go a little bit faster than the train. And it's really hard to give him a needle. That's it. And Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles was pretty similar to that. They didn't totally define his power set, but that's pretty much what it was. And so that's what I wanted for Ace, where it's he can't fly around the earth and reverse time. He doesn't have freezing ray or stuff like that. He's not dealing with like the Grant Morrison perspective of, oh, he's too powerful. He's a little better. He can do a little bit more than your average guy. And if you had that skill, it's a gift, it's a skill, it's something, it's an asset. You get to choose what you do with it. And so what I tried to do with Ace is not bring too many of the superhero tropes. I tried to ground it in my reality, or this reality of like, when you have a gift, like you have a choice of what you want to do with it, whether it's like giving money or giving your time to help people, or call a friend if they're dealing with something like that. If you have the ability to do something to help somebody, would you do it? And like, how far does that go? It's with Ace, it's like, I can do these things and I want to help, but that's not enough to just want to help and go, do a couple hours and then I go home and I just chill out. I want to help. I want to all day. I want to go out there and I want to fight robots. And I want to like kiss babies and shake the mayor's hand and help the cops and fight everybody. I want to go home, feed my dogs, grab some coffee, and then I want to put on another costume and go beat the shit out of nighttime criminals from the alleys.
Yes.
And he can't stop. He doesn't know how. He wants to help, but it's like he can't stop himself, and that actually, like, in a way, prevents him from being able to be his best self to help as many people as he could, because he loses perspective in a way. It's like he's got these abilities and he thinks that, and a desire to help, and he thinks that's enough. But powers aren't enough. Will is not enough. It takes more than that. So that got way away from your question, I believe. But
no, that was perfect.
You get me talking about Ace, and I got thoughts on Ace. I got
we love it.
Awesome.
We love it. We can sit here and listen all day, man. We love good storytelling, like for real.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
I was also gonna say, and it makes sense now, like when you say that about, you said like you like the Golden Age Superman. And just from the character design, because I wasn't on the podcast, but I watched it too with Jacob, and I was saying how he was talking about he was influenced by that golden age of heroes and like the Bruce Timm artwork and the Alex Ross, who else? Man, Darwin Cook, yeah, like those guys. For some reason, I'm the same way. Like I love New Frontier. That's one of my favorites. And then I had just found out about the Batman ego that he did. I found out about that like a couple of years ago. And I was like, I just love the way it's drawn. And I love how like they chose to pick that golden age era and like show those superheroes in like their glory days. And then I thought it was cool how they made like Wonder Woman bigger than Superman because she's great, an Amazon. Right? And I was like, I'm with it all the way.
And they don't say it. They don't talk about it. That's the best. That's the genius of stuff like that. When you got a writer artist who's who's just got what he's doing and got what they're doing in mind, just like that, those little things that just adds texture to that. Of course, an Amazonian would be a little bit taller. Like, of course, like that makes sense. Yeah. I feel like Darwin's perspective on Wonder Woman has almost made him like Thor, right? Whereas like she wants
Yes.
to go out and party and drink and free all these women from oppression and then let's get fucked up. It's like,
Exactly. That's
absolutely, yes.
exactly. And then I love how like the way they showed it is like Superman was looking eye to eye with her because she was like sitting down or something. And then she stands up and it's nah. I'm
Yeah.
looking down on you.
Exactly. And again, like that's the kind of thing that a writer wouldn't necessarily think of. But if you're an artist and the writer, like Darwin was, it's, I can show her authority by doing this. We don't need to say anything, just show that. It's so good. Yeah, there were 2 Darwin books that we used as our starting place for Ace. Frontier and was for the daytime stuff when Ace Adams is whiz bang. So if you look at that book and it's like the vast majority, probably 80% of the pages are 3-panel widescreen. 1, 2, 3. Huge. Looks like a Technicolor movie, and it's beautiful. There's thought to every frame. And then we looked at Darwin's Selena's Big Score, the Catwoman graphic novel that he did.
He did do that, yeah.
And so you look at his storytelling there, and it is totally different. There's these cramped, tiny little panels full of noir, full of like just blacked out silhouettes and stuff like that. Like almost like an expressive kind of line. It almost looks like he's drawing some of this stuff with a paintbrush. And so that's what we wanted. And so that was, going to be the Black Dog. So we had like big widescreen stuff and then small cramped noir stuff and show that contrast. We thought that would be a good visual representation. And it really does a lot. Like I'm working, like Jacob and I are co-creators on this, co-storytellers on this. And I rely on him. Like when I come up with an idea and start breaking down a script, I encourage him to be like, take some stuff away from this. So it's like, if you can tell this visually, if you can show this, I'll take out my words. We don't need these words. Like you show it. So yeah, it started with Darwin Cook. Jack Kirby was a big influence. Yeah. We looked at a lot of old school comics to try to get that feel.
Oh, wow. And the great thing is like, one thing that I saw when looking at like the creation or the background of just like getting to look at everybody who took part in this comic, and that's like from the lettering to the title of the comic to the writing, and then of course the artistry. How did you guys find each other? Like how did this kind of Avengers team get assembled?
Yeah, Jacob and I we'd been working together for a few years on stuff, on licensed stuff. He did a James Bond book for me, did a Army of Darkness book. Those books, we did a Western. He and I did a Western together called Fantastic Bandits that we did half of, but then we got busy with other stuff. Hopefully we'll get to someday. But yeah, like he and I just started like going back and forth, knowing we wanted to work on something together. And I'd had this one idea for a I worked at Marvel for several years, at which point I got pretty burnt out on superheroes for a while. I still like superheroes and everything, but I use the analogy. If you work at Krispy Kreme all day, you don't really want to go home and have a bear claw. So I was just like, all right, I got it. I feel 1,500, 2,000 superhero comics. Like I need to go try something else. Let's go do some spy stuff, some action adventure, fantasy things. But this one idea just kept coming to me of one guy that's 2 heroes. Surely that's been done, or somebody will come up with that and I won't have to do it. But nobody ever, I just couldn't find anybody that was doing it. And I just don't think anybody's done that. Okay. And so when Jacob and I were trying to think of something to do, I got the sense that he wanted to do something superhero-ish. And so I just told him, I got this one idea. And if you don't like this one idea, then we can't do it. Like I'm not doing another superhero because it's the only idea I've got. And he liked it. So that's how he came aboard. With Kike, I had already found him and assigned him the letter coloring for Army of Darkness. So I already knew the 3 of us worked really well together. And he has a great way of adding tone and texture to some of Jacob's stuff. Like Jacob's stuff
it's really pretty.
It's an open style, so it can get flattened very easy. So but you also don't want to like round it 3D style like a modern, like you don't want to make it too modern. So Kike just really gets that. And Russ, I've known Russ for over a decade from the Marvel days. He lettered Thor: The Mighty Avenger that I oversaw, and a bunch of other things. He's been busy. There's this comic called The Walking Dead that he lettered. I don't know if you've heard of it. But yeah, he got busy doing that. So he does all the Kirkman's. He does all of Kirkman's stuff as well. So it's like I love his stuff. And as you can imagine, an editor that's going over to writing can be a nightmare. So I need a letterer. I need a letterer I can really trust and will be okay with me like being very fussy. And Russ is that guy, and he's so creative. He's the designer and the letterer. So he did the logo, and he's putting together some graphic pages. We're going to be doing some stuff that are similar to, inspired by the DC New Frontier magazine kind of pages. We're going to be doing that kind of stuff that Russ is going to design and draw himself as well. So yeah, it all came together. And then we got a bunch of cover artists as well that like I'm friendly with, and lucky enough that they said yes and took the time. So yeah, just got really lucky. They all said yes. That's your answer. They all said yes.
Well, no, that's awesome, because it's such a, like you said, nobody else has that idea. When I saw one of the only reasons that I really just zoned in on this comic, we have a group chat actually, and I think I explained that to Jacob also, and I just saw the cover and I was just like, oh, okay, that looks pretty cool. Like two different heroes, I guess they're like on a team together or whatever. I went to Jacob's page and did some stalking, and I was just like, oh wow, wait, they're the same guy. I'm like, this is crazy. And I immediately went crazy in our group chat. I'm like, what is this? Have y'all heard of this? I was just hyped because I never heard of it. I'm like, this is crazy. Yeah, and I did it too. I went looking. I'm like, there has to be somebody else that came up with that.
There was, and you've actually talked to him. So there was this one shot by Chuck Dixon and Scott McDaniel called Nightwing, and he did it while he was working on Nightwing. It was just one of these like special GN one shot kind of things. And Dick Grayson was Nightwing in Bloodhaven, and he was accused of murder. Like they thought that Nightwing had killed somebody. And so the cops were going after him. And if you remember, he was a cop at the time during that series. And so he knew the cops were going after him and not going to stop until they found him. And so Grayson decided to be a different character, the target. And his costume was mostly made of like a cop's bulletproof vest and like the nightsticks and all that kind of stuff. And so he was becoming a different character to solve his own being accused of this murder, to solve the murder that he was accused. And then he just went back to being Nightwing once he cleared his name. And so I realized going through my old comics, like that was probably one of the urtexts, like one of the things in the back of my mind that got me thinking, because I was doing the same thing. I was going back and thinking like, it's got to be, and there was the Slingers idea, right? Like with Spider-Man that had the 4 different identities at one point. I don't remember what those characters are. The Dusk, I think, was maybe one of them, Prodigy. And then I don't know what the other ones are. But yeah, it really got me thinking of like the practicality of being a superhero. It's because the first thing I thought, that's stupid. Nobody would do that. And then I thought, who would be a superhero anyway? That's fucking stupid. Like just being one is stupid enough. You may as well go whole hog. And so then the thinking was like, why would you do, like, who would do that? What kind of person, what kind of personality would do that? And then I realized, a failed actor would see these as performances and like the roles of a lifetime. And so that's where the golden age of Hollywood premise came in, where it's like, so it's this guy that tried to make it but didn't, so he became a stunt man, but he's got these powers and this ability to help people. So he's going to really embrace this idea of doing this, and not just doing it, but doing it with style, with flair. And so there's this great bit in Batman and Robin, the Grant Morrison Frank Quietly series, where again, Dick Grayson is Batman. And he's talking to Alfred and saying, I hate being Batman. This sucks. Like Commissioner Gordon doesn't respect me. The cape's heavy. I never wanted to wear a cape. This sucks. I don't want to do this. And Alfred's just, it's like this, like just fake it till you make it, basically. It's like, think of it as a stage. Think of it as a performance. Like you put the cape on and the cowl and the lights are on and you're on. And I kept thinking of that in this. And I think Ace brings a lot of that. Like when he's whiz-bang, and he puts the tunic and the mask and the cape on, like, his back instantly goes straight, his chest puffs out, and he's like, hello, citizens, that kind of thing. And he really overdoes that. And we do that in the writing. It's like, ha. And he thinks of clever things to say and all that. And then when he goes to Black Dog, like it's totally different. His costume is padded, so he looks a lot thicker, right? Almost like a Wolverine kind of thing. He hunches over. And because he's Black Dog, which is influenced by this like old Scottish myth. So it was what Hound of the Baskervilles was taken from Sherlock Holmes. There's this Yeth, it's called the Yeth dog, I believe, where it's like this injured dog that haunts the Scottish moors with these bright red eyes. And so that idea is like he's walking around injured, like he's got a limp, and he growls Christian Bale style. And so like when he's Black Dog, he's doing that whole performance. And so but it's not just that. He also puts these strictures on himself of, okay, Whiz Bang can jump, but Black Dog cannot. And so he puts these limitations on himself, which in the story you will see is a really stupid idea. Because if you have the ability to jump over and stop
just do it,
but you're not because of the performance, like how method are you trying to be with all
right?
Yeah. So like that's just kind of the stuff that I started getting really interested with. Oh, this, like, how far is that going to go? Like, what is he more dedicated to? Being a superhero and helping people, or keeping people from knowing that these are the same guy and going through this whole performance bit? Yeah, that's just the stuff that really opened up and made me actually want to write this kind of thing. It's my first superhero that I've ever written. Worked on a lot, but this is my first one.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it's dope. It's like this is really interesting how, first of all, he's a superhero that works like 24/7. Like this is all day long, and he just makes it seem like it's like Ace just sees it as more, like I said, like a performance. Like he deliberately doesn't use specific powers just for fun, just for laughs, but he's like risking his life.
And like when he's Whiz Bang, he holds himself back, right? Like he doesn't kill anybody, but like with Black Dog, he'll definitely tiptoe up to the line of making people scared or actually punching somebody hard enough to knock them out. But as Whiz Bang, it's like he's got to show people that he means. He's got to like not be too violent. If he gets sucker punched, like he can't instantly retaliate and break somebody's arm. He's got to be that gleaming example. And he'll screw up. And part of the story is seeing him screw up and seeing what that does to him. Like when the lines start to blur, when the plan starts to crack apart, like how does he manage all that? When you're one of the tagline things that we use for marketing that started with the story was like, when you spend all your time pretending to be two different people, who are you really? And so that's the kind of thing that we're trying to explore with this.
Yeah. No, that's why I pretty much figured that because Chad was saying he saw it in the group chat. I actually saw one of the alter ego covers on, what is it, Instagram's Discover page.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it was just fan art of a pre-existing hero that's been around for some years.
Yeah, we definitely tried to take some of the stuff from, like, we straight up copied. I won't even say we copied a lot of stuff, like Alan Scott Green Lantern and like old school Captain Marvel and Superman and Batman and the Flash. We were trying to make it look of a piece. We didn't want it to look old and musty. We just wanted to look like vibrant and like of that time. We didn't want to modernize it up too much because it's comics. Like, we're having fun, and it's in the golden age of Hollywood where everything is, again, like big and technicolor and exciting. So we wanted like fun looking costumes.
Yeah, for sure. And I was like, oh, cool. Is this like a series or something? I just thought it was like a whole thing. Like,
yeah.
It's like a very lived-in world already.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one thing that I thought was interesting, I love both of the titles that you've had for the graphic novel so far, but I don't think I know you guys had a reason for it, but I never really looked into it. So what happened with the change of the title? Because originally I know it was Alter Ego, and now of course it's the Daring Double Life of Ace Adams. So where exactly did that come from?
Yeah, so Roy Thomas, the former editor-in-chief of Marvel, he is an accomplished writer, and he had I knew that he had edited a magazine about comics called Alter Ego in the past, because I vetted the name and I saw that there's actually a reality show right now called Alter Ego on Fox, and then there's a few other books that are called Alter Ego, but it seemed like nobody was really using it. But once we went public and it started gaining some traction, Roy just reached out and said, hey, I don't know, but I also did a comic book miniseries called Alter Ego about a character called Alter Ego. And I may be doing something else with it. So a lot of people are like reaching out and asking if this is somehow like part of that or something. And so there was some confusion with it. And he very kindly asked if we would mind changing it. Said we could keep the name while we're doing the campaign and everything, but he really appreciated if we changed. And like, I don't have a ton of interest arguing with an 81-year-old legend of comics. So I said, yes, Mr. Thomas, absolutely.
Right,
Mr.
yes,
Thomas.
right.
Yeah. And so again, he was super nice about it. He actually came up with the word double to put in it. I did not ask him at all, unsolicited, but like he came up with a list of 5 or 6 different names. Double was part of one of them. And I was like, double, I don't know. It just sounds like a Wendy's burger.
I was about to say
yeah, it's like,
right.
I don't like, sounds like drive-through. I'm not into this. But I literally went through 350 names, different kinds of things. And I was talking to a friend who was talking about, the character reminds me of Daredevil. And there's like Daredevil, Daring Double Life of Ace Adams. Okay, yes, I like the alliteration. I think that works. That's good enough. So I had to go back to Roy and say, you know how I told you that this reminds me of hamburgers? Now it doesn't. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. I appreciate it, Mr. Thomas.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, but that's cool. Like how you said, like I really see the just like the comparison, because you were talking about how like Ace Adams is like he's like a failed actor or whatever, and in the name like Daring Double Life is like of Ace Adams is like it's not really, and I'm not really sure, but I just really like how you guys didn't want to name the comic book like Whiz Bang or Black Dog. He just wanted to name it Ace Adams because it's about Ace Adams and his kind of like his basically his the issues that he has with trying to become an actor or something.
Yeah. That was some people were some of my friends were suggesting some names to me, and so many of them had the character names in it. And it's like, but it's not Whiz Bang. If it is not Black Dog, like those are performances. It's about Ace Adams. And call it the triple life of Ace Adams. It's not 3 lives. It's 1 life. It's Ace Adams. That's the point. Like he's putting on all of these different performances, but it's one guy. Like that to me, I know it's a fine line and all that kind of thing, but I felt nuts having to constantly explain it, but it's just one guy. Yeah.
No, that's really cool. Oh, go ahead, man. I was just
gonna say, and it fits the time period in the decade, like that Hollywood, classic Hollywood. The movies was like the Big Bang, blah blah blah, like that. So like it works even more now. So it's
totally. I was like, I had my Turner Classic Movies app up, like just like scrolling through old.
There you
movies,
go.
Like, Lilies of the Field now doesn't work. Like it's got to be something. Like it's got to have some of that energy. And I think it does. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, especially with it really fits, like you were saying, Marcus, with the old school, like the TCM movies, especially with a Jacob's cover, because it's literally on the little movie banner. It's like the Daring Double Life, so it's pretty cool how that looks. Yeah. So, and Wooten did the whole design of that title too, correct?
Yeah, the logo kind of stuff. You mean on Jacob's cover?
Yeah, just in general, like that whole design, because I like the way it looks.
So Jacob drew the marquee, and like he had the lines. Like my idea was basically like you have the 2 sections, one during the day, one at night, and you have the split character kind of thing. And then like you have the lines on the marquee, but like when Russ tried to lay in our names and titles and stuff, like Jacob didn't quite have the right lines, so Russ had to go back in and adjust the lines and do all that kind of stuff and play stuff. And we're going to go back and do it again because like when it was called Alter Ego, it all fit. But now that it's got way more words, it's hard to read. So we're going to go back in and adjust that. So,
I know when it blew
he's
up.
A genius.
Oh no, it's awesome. I know when it blew up when you guys were marketing it to everybody. How did you feel about that? I know that had to be a crazy feeling for some people to just latch on to it and just blow it out of proportion. Like, it's crazy. It's everywhere.
It's great. It feels good. This is my 5th Kickstarter, and being an editor, like behind the scenes, like it's part of the job is just like have to be humble by definition, where it's not about me, it's about helping other people like tell the best kind of stories they can. So like I felt pretty skittish about being out in front and center, which I guess is why with all the things I write, like I try to go out of my way to put the entire creative team out there with me, where it's not me, it's us. Like, we are doing this, we are presenting this to you. But yeah, it's just I in my wilder dreams, I did not really anticipate that, like, the number of backers and the amount of attention that we were able to get. So it's really heartening, and it's intimidating because I haven't finished writing the book. So it's like, oh shit, now I have to actually do it. But it's really warming to know that so many people took to it.
Well, that's cool, and I'm glad you
sure.
feel that way. We see it. We definitely see the passion y'all put into it.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, totally. Cause and I'm such an old man when it comes to like internet anything. Like I'm just like is Kickstarter the place where I buy like the first volume? Does it have like a
Nah,
show on Netflix or something? Like
Yeah, that's what we
this
did.
was
We did an Ace Adams Netflix show, just to lay the table, but we're going to make our money from the comics.
Gotcha.
That's why you get the comics, to make the money.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you
makes
go.
sense. This is funding
Right
the
there.
Netflix show. Gotcha.
Yeah.
But no,
Like
this is my first Kickstarter
Bridgerton,
too.
Stranger Things, they're doing all right, but the money is in the Kickstarter comics.
That's
Yeah.
how you got to do it.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, this was my first Kickstarter too. Like, I never really
Yeah,
backed
me too.
anything on Kickstarter before, so brand new for
Oh,
us.
cool. Yeah, like I said, it's the 5th one I've worked on. It's been a couple of years now, and I came from it from a classic publishing perspective. Like, again, like just working at Marvel and Image and Archaea, Dynamite, and those kinds of places. And so I don't have a hand in the marketing. I don't have a hand in the distribution, shipping, all that kind of stuff. I know how to put a comic together, but that's it. Or when I started, that's all I got. Like, here, do you want this? I'm done. I'm on to the next. But with this, I don't know. Like, the first couple, I was having trouble getting my sea legs. But at this point, I don't know. There's something about being able to reach out directly to people and say, hey, look at this. Do you want this? And then said most of them say no. And speaking of humility, but like plenty of people say yes. And the idea that enough people have affirmed that that they believe in what you do, and then we gotta make all the decisions on what to do. There's no publisher, there's no marketing arm that's like telling us you got to do this and that and this. It's up to us. It's what we do, and I don't know. It feels more organic, it feels more palpable, and it's creator owned, so it's ours. It's just fun to be able to like do it, almost feel like we're doing it by hand in a way. But making licensed comics is great, but this is just a different kind of thing that feels a lot more.
That's awesome. I'm definitely glad about that. And like you said, it feels a lot more personal. And we told Jacob the same thing. We feel it through the visuals, through the story, and everything is so organic, and it feels really new. And we have all the confidence in you guys, and we just can't wait to get our copies. We
telling
need
you.
I need
excited,
it in my hand.
man. I was talking about it today. I was telling my brother, I was like, yeah, man, the dude we got tonight, they got this comic. I was like, and it's coming out. I was like, and I can't wait. I know it's 6 months from now, but I don't care. I'm still happy.
I try to get it to you sooner, but Jacob's working again. I don't know what, like, this guy, he's working on this comic, Brian Michael Bendis. I don't know if you've heard of Brian Michael Bendis, but he's doing a comic with Brian Michael Bendis. For some reason, Jacob thinks that's important to do instead of before working on this comic. So now we scheduled it out, so it's going to be done at the end of the year. But yeah, Jacob's got that thing to get out of the way, and then
we can't wait, man. We
can't wait.
You know, when we get it, we're gonna definitely give you all a review on it, man.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Of course.
But yeah, no, totally. And like I said, like I'm basically old, so I'm just like, okay, cool. I bought it, and I'll probably be here like next week or something.
Is this a Snapchat? What is this?
But no, we're definitely excited. Like you said, you got definitely some supporters here, and we'd love to get all of you guys back to talk about it when it comes out and all of that good stuff. You're more than welcome to come back anytime and chat with us. So
for sure. Thank you guys. Appreciate that.
Oh, of course.
Oh,
And one of
yeah.
the last things before we get up out of here, we talked about a lot of great things tonight as far as what you've done with your career and just making it to where you're able to include everybody and just to form a project or anything or just a body of work or a way to express your art. I just wanted to know, as far as all of that's concerned, what kind of advice would you have for somebody else that's trying to get where you are, or somebody that's up and coming in the area of comic books or comic writing or editing, any of that stuff?
And look, I'll say this before you say that, Nate. I'm definitely one of those people, so I'm taking this
Yeah,
advice.
yeah. So please, right, right here.
I am that people. I'm in that
Look,
group.
us,
Yeah,
us
yeah.
too. Me and Josh too.
I was in the same boat you guys were. Like I was just languishing there, just going between Mississippi and Savannah, like in college. Just like, how do I, like, all the comics were getting made in New York. It's like, how do I get up there? What do I do? Like, for me, my own personal journey was just like, look, like, I think the only way for me to be an editor is to be up in New York. So I moved to New York. I had some other stuff I was doing with TV stuff, but I got there and I was an intern at Marvel for like longer than I was technically supposed to be an intern. Like, no more college credit. I was just like work free labor, essentially, just like waiting for somebody to need something copied, something taken up to legal or something like that. And luckily I learned a few things and a couple editors took a shine to me. And so, like, when one of them left, I just slid into their seat. So to
Nice.
me, so basically the lesson I took from that is just like persistence and presence. So it's like, that won't work for everybody. I wouldn't suggest that everybody go to Marvel and just hang out outside until they let you in. But I hustled. I was like, I got in there, and just like the people that hired me were not in the office that I got accepted to in Marvel. Like, I actually started roving around the different offices looking for people that needed stuff, and was lucky enough to glom onto. But even then, it's like, took me like 9 months before I actually knew what I was doing. So comics a lot of times does not feel like a job to me, but it is a job, and it takes discipline. It takes thought. You can't just like, whatever, that's a comic kind of thing. Like, you got to put in. To me, there's some studying about it. There's some work at it. You got to. If you're a writer, you got to get your shitty first drafts out of the way and bang it out and get it to a better thing. Once you've got it written down and scripted, you got to get that thing drawn, because there's no way that any comic editor is going to read your cold script. So it's like, you got to figure out how to get a relationship with some artists and work out a system. If you don't have the money to pay them, you got to work some kind of creator-owned thing out to where everybody's amenable to the situation. Hopefully you can pay them, because artists, it takes an artist longer to draw or more than it does for a writer to write usually. So you got to pay for their time. But the thing I say to all writers is, if you want to write comic books, first thing you got to do is write a comic book and make it exist, because the pile, like, if you want to work for the big two, you got to have a comic book that exists before they hire you to do that, or be famous. But usually, or be J.J. Abrams' son. I don't know. I think he wrote a Spider-Man book. That counts. But yeah, like, you got to make a comic, you got to put it out there, and you got to get it in front of people that are gatekeepers. Essentially, that was my path to go to doing it. It's different now. I think the good thing about now is that there are so many more avenues to be able to grow an audience. It's like, through the Kickstarter stuff, I've noticed that it's like, there are people that I'd never heard of that have thousands and thousands of followers and fans, who are just like, through Patreon and Kickstarter and all these different kind of things, like, just giving these people a huge creative career and a huge following. And that's incredible. That did not exist when I started in comics. So there's the gatekeeper way, and then there's the homegrown kind of way. That, like, my advice stays the same though. Just make a comic. First thing, like, just make a comic.
Hey, sounds good to me. That's definitely some great advice for sure.
Great
You gotta put it out there. Thank you so much for that, Nate. And one of the last things though, before we get out of here, definitely let the listeners know and the viewers know anything that you might be working on right now. Let them know anything, like where your social medias are, or all that good stuff. Go ahead and shout it all out.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Nate Cosby. You won't see me for a month, because I don't know if you noticed, but I've been tweeting a lot about this book called The Daring Double Life of Ace Adams. I'm a little burnt out on socials at the moment. But yeah, in about a month's time, I'm sure I'll be back talking about basketball or which Tom Cruise movie I watched. But yeah, I'm there. I'm never really on Instagram. But in the meantime, I'll be working on Ace Adams. I edited my production company edits a bunch of books for Dynamite, so James Bond and Red Sonja, that kind of stuff. So you can pick those up. But yeah, otherwise I'll be right here working on Ace and just waiting on Jacob to finish so he can draw it.
There you go. Well, awesome. That is definitely good stuff. And no worries for all of our viewers and listeners out there. We will definitely put all of that good stuff in the description below. So just like every week, guys, guess what time it is?
It's time for the shameless promotional.
Yes,
I'm back, people.
Yes, it's time for the shameless promotional. So, guys, you can catch us, the Score Roundtable podcast, every week on our website. And that website is scoreroundtablepod.fandomlim.com. And one more time, that is scoreroundtablepod.fandomlim.com. And guys, you can also catch us on our YouTube of the same name. Go ahead and hit that like button, guys. Subscribe. We want to hear read all of your comments in the description below, guys. Tell us everything about what you guys think about Ace Adams, what you guys' favorite comic books are, all of that good stuff, guys. Just have some good nerd chat. And please follow us on all of our social medias too, guys, of the same name, Score Roundtable Podcast. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. And guys, please join our pesky Facebook group.
Yes.
Please. We are definitely struggling, y'all. So we want y'all to whiz bang over to that Score Roundtable Facebook group. Definitely a recycle joke. But yeah, guys, get over there, man. And yeah, just like
you guys, Ace Adams your way over to that Facebook.
Ace Adams, there we go. Ace Adams. Right. Ace Adams your way over to that Facebook group, guys. And yeah, before we head on out of here, I just want everybody to introduce themselves, including our awesome guest for the evening. So just like every week, guys, I'm your host, Chad Singleton.
I am Josh Singleton. Hashtag yes. Hashtag
Marcus.
I'm also Marcus. No, I'm Nate. I'm Nate Cosby.
All right, guys. And this has been the Score Roundtable podcast. Thank you so much, guys.